Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated you taking a little time out of your day. We got the whole gang with us in the truck right here, heading back from Florida from the Bassmaster Open at Lake Tahoe. Sort of in a little bit of a traffic jam here. Thought it'd be a good time to do the video. And what I want to talk about today is I want to sort of give you guys sort of a feel what life on the road is really like for a pro angler, like what you have to go through, and run through basically what a day of traveling and a day at the tournament's like. And you know, if you're not familiar with it, it's a lot different than like if you're fishing local tournaments or just fishing for fun. Because literally, I've had tournaments all over the country, coast to coast, one end to the other. So each one of those has a logistical planning that you have to have for them. And so the tournament actually starts long before the tournament as far as preparing for it. I mean, just getting everything in line, getting all your logistics straightened out before you leave. You know, about a week worth of tackle work, prepping for the tournament. Every tournament you got to pack completely different. You don't know what you're going to encounter, so there's a lot to do before you even start. But really, once you hit the road, it's there's nothing easy about it a lot of times, because when you're traveling across the country, there's all types of stuff that you run into. I mean, you got these boneheads out there and the Chargers and the Mustangs and the crotch rockets you have to deal with. You got semi trucks, you know, right on your butt and right next to you constantly for hundreds and hundreds of miles. They're just the traveling part of it. There's a lot of stress that goes with that, because you know, you're pulling a boat in heavy traffic and in city traffic a lot of times, and you know, based upon what part of the country you're going to, that can be, you know, that's not a minor thing. And that's why I always I much prefer to fish out west of the Mississippi than east of the Mississippi. I mean, the United States east of the Mississippi, it's, you know, overdeveloped, overpopulated. If you go out west, it's a lot more pristine. It's a lot easier driving. So I far prefer going to tournaments out west. But a lot of it just depends on how you roll. I mean, for years I used to triple tow. I had a 25-foot fifth wheel on my pickup, and then I towed the boat behind the fifth wheel. And that is the ideal situation if you can do it, because when you get to the tournament, you know, you're set up and you got all your stuff there. It's sort of like home. But one of the biggest realities, the most difficult things that I don't like about professional fishing is staying in strange places all the time. I mean, you're, you know, in hotels, motels. They can be neat, they can be sketchy. It just depends on where you're at. When I first started out, the first 5 or 6 years that I was fishing professionally, I ran with 5 or 6 different guys that were pro fishermen, and we'd find the cheapest little, you know, hole-in-the-wall motel that was like $30 a night, and we'd all chip in. We'd all only have to pay like $5 a night. We'd be sleeping on the floor. You know, there'd be mice running around in the room. We didn't care, because we were just, you know, young and into fishing. It didn't really matter to us. But now, you know, obviously when you go to these tournaments, you try to, you know, find something that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And for me, I travel by myself most of the time. Usually my family gets to go with me to like one tournament of the year. They went with me to the Florida tournament here. But most of the time it's just me. And so on a typical day, is like I said, I'll get up early in the morning. I'll usually drive, you know, anywhere between 12 to 15 hours if it's a long tournament in one day. I don't like to stop much. Most of the pro anglers, including myself, we don't even stop to take a break to go pee. We just pee in a bottle inside the truck, and you know, to keep it like that, keep it nice and simple. But you know, the driving, we try to get there as soon as we can. You know, get everything intact. Another thing you have to deal with is equipment failures. I've had axles break off. I've had flats, multiple flats. I've had bearings burn out on the truck. I've had my truck break down. You know, there's a lot that can go wrong on the road. On top of that, you're always dealing with there's a lot of sketchy people out there, man. There's a lot of meth heads around the country that you have to deal with. You really have to be aware of your surroundings when you're traveling across the country, because you don't know who you're going to run into. I mean, you're all over the country and you run into all types of people. So the traveling part of it itself is not that cool. Also with it is the food part of it. It's extremely difficult to eat healthy on the road, because most of the time when you're traveling, you're in a time crunch all the time. You want to get there, you want to get home. When you're out fishing in the tournament, usually you're up well before daylight. You're fishing all day long. You know, when you come home, you don't want to take, or when you get off the water, you don't want to take a lot of time to eat. So usually you pick something up quick, and it makes for a long day. And like for me, you know, my day is not over when I get off the water in a tournament. I usually have to spend, you know, an hour or two working on the fish of the moment lake map breakdowns. So it's, when at a tournament situation, I'm usually up at, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of times I'm not in bed until, you know, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And you do that day after day after day. So the reality of life on the road is it sucks. I mean, it really does. I mean, that's the worst part about professional fishing, is the traveling, being out of your own bed, being away from home, being in heavy traffic. Overall, that part of it just really sucks. Now, there are some cool parts about it, because you do get to see some really, really neat parts of the country. I mean, I've literally have been, the only places I have not been in this country are the Pacific Northwest. I've been from California all the way back to the Northeast, East Coast, Canada, all the Gulf Coast states, everywhere. And you get to see what the country is really like overall. My favorite part of the country, in my opinion, the most beautiful part of the country, is either the Colorado Rockies or the desert area, the desert Southwest, Utah, Nevada, that type of stuff. Those are just striking areas because they're really undeveloped. But ultimately, it's really cool. It's always nice to be home. I mean, there's always an energy that comes from, you know, where you live at that you're always wanting to get back to. And you know, that's one of the things that makes it really hard to go to these tournaments, is being away from home. But you know, for a lot of people that think that, you know, tournament fishing is this, you know, awesome career, I mean, there's great parts about it, but everybody I know that has done it as long as I have, you know, they just really dread the traveling part of it, the traveling, being away from home, staying in strange places. But that's part of it. And that's why you don't see the best fishermen in this country are not necessarily the ones that are professional fishermen that you know about. There's a lot of other anglers out there that are actually better than most of the top pros that you know of today, but they just choose not to fish because they don't want to travel. I mean, the guy that mentored me, Terry Thomas, back in Missouri, you know, he would have been a Kevin Van Dam type superstar if he wanted to, but he just didn't want to be away from, he wanted to, you know, be in his own bed at night. He just didn't want to travel. So that's just another part of it. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a little insight on what's it's like on the road out there. And I hope you guys are having a good day, and we'll check in later. See ya.